Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into the first Christmas nail design of the season. This is the inspiration we're recreating today. I'm not sure who to credit since I did find this on Pinterest as a repost, but I think it looks so cute and I really want to try it. You guys actually voted for this design on my Instagram at Novagelic Nails, so if you want to be part of the next vote, make sure that you're following me there to stay tuned. As always, we'll start with a prep routine and then jump straight into the fun part, which is creating the design. We're going to start by trimming the nails down slightly, just to make sure that nothing shows underneath the extensions. Next, I'm filing the free edge of my natural nails with a glass hand file to smooth out any sharp edges from clipping. You can also use a regular nail file. Glass hand files are just a little bit more gentle on my natural nails, which is why I prefer them. Then I'm removing the cuticles. You can use a cuticle serum or do a dry cuticle prep with a nail drill bit, whichever you prefer. I personally like using the serum, so I apply it to my cuticles and let it sit for about 10 seconds, and then gently push them back with a cuticle pusher, focusing on removing any dead buildup on my nail plate. I like to work one hand at a time and wash off the serum after about a minute. This next step is optional, but I like to nip away the excess skin. It gives the nails a little bit more of a cleaner look. It's not necessary though, so you can skip it if you'd prefer. Since there was a little bit of leftover peel-off base gel on my nail plate, I'm using a 240 grit sanding band at 5,000 RPM to lightly etch my nail plate. Normally, I just go for a small buffing block, which is a little bit more gentle on my nails, since I do them very frequently, but the small sanding band will speed things up a little bit, so I just decided to use that today. You can use either method, just make sure to remove the shine from the nail plate. Next, I'm removing oils and debris from my nails using a protein prep vitamin. It works like a dehydrator, so I swipe it on each nail, let it evaporate, and repeat that on all of my nails. For the base, I'm applying the Jello Peel Off Base Coat. I'm using this so my nails will be easy to remove later on without soaking them off. I do 2 coats of this, curing in between each coat for 60 seconds. You definitely don't have to use a peel off base gel like me. You can skip this part if you want, but I like my nails to be temporary because I need them off without doing a full file and soak off. Now for the tips, I'm going to use these half cover square nail tips, which you can find on Amazon. I'll link everything I use in the description box. I'm sizing each nail tip to fit my nail from sidewall to sidewall, and once they're all sized out, I'll just set them aside for now. Now it's time to adhere the nail tips. Since I'm using a peel off base coat, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm applying a little bit of that same Jello peel off base coat I used earlier to the tips to adhere them. You could also use a gel glue or a base gel if you're using a peel off base coat like I am. I just have a little bit of extra peel off base gel on hand, so this is what I'm using. I wouldn't recommend using air dry nail glue on top of a peel off base gel as it doesn't really adhere properly. So I just take a small amount of the gel to the tip, press it onto the free edge, and flash cure it with my gooseneck lamp for about 10 seconds. After all the tips are in place, I cure all of my nails in my big lamp for 60 seconds to fully set the gel. If you are not using a peel-off base gel, you can simply attach the tips with some air dry nail glue after etching. Once the gel is fully cured, I trim the extensions to my desired length. Next, I grab my nail drill to blend the tips into my natural nail for a seamless look. I'm filing carefully at 6,000 RPM where the tip meets my natural nail to remove any of that bulk, and then I lightly etch the lengths of my tips with a sanding band to remove the shine and give the gel something to grip to, which will also help prevent lifting. Next, I'm shaping the sidewalls and free edge of my extensions with a 180 grit file to help them blend better into my natural nails, and really just making the shape very crisp. And after filing, I'm just going to dust off whatever I can from my nails. and usually the dust likes to stick to the sticky inhibition layer, so I'm just going to wipe the nails with some rubbing alcohol to make sure that the surface is clean and ready. Now I'm applying a gel base coat to help the Polygel adhere. I like to cover both the natural nail and the extension for extra grip, though technically applying it to your natural nails is just enough, and I cure this for 60 seconds until it's fully set. This is a little bit random, but I recently received a package from a small business called Doper Than Your Nails, which was so exciting. They reached out and wanted to send me their ultimate Polygel Neutrals bundle, which comes with this cool Polygel brush. I'm going to show you guys the colors they sent. Starting off with Coquette Blush, Desert Rose, Pink Essence, and Whispy Peach. I think that this one is the closest match to the inspiration picture. These are all really gorgeous colors. They're not super runny. Consistency is very nice. These are definitely colors I would wear on myself, so I'm really excited about using these in future videos. To apply the Polygel, I've got my dampen dish filled with some isopropyl alcohol, lint-free wipes, and my new Polygel brush. New brushes can be stiff at first, so I dip it in the alcohol just to kind of loosen it up. And to ensure that my brush is saturated throughout the process, I like to dip it in the solution, drain it on the side of my dish, and tap it on a lint-free wipe to get the perfect amount of solution on my brush. And of course, I'm going to go in with this peach color for this design. I'm placing my first bead of Polygel along the free edge of my nail, leaving a gap near the cuticle and the bead, and I press it down with the brush and disperse it evenly from sidewall to sidewall, making sure every inch of my extension is covered with the Polygel. Then, once everything is dispersed evenly, I start to blend the gel slightly up towards the cuticle, again leaving a gap near the cuticle and the bead. I'm basically just flattening out the gel here, and I'm just going to continue swiping the excess down off of the nail tip. And this part will not only remove any excess product, but also smooth out the nail as well. And once all that excess has been swiped down, I can then cut off the excess and cure that nail, and that'll be my first bead. I like to cure it for 90 seconds just to ensure that it's fully cured. Then I'm going to go in with my cuticle bead near the cuticle area. Again, leave a gap, but less smaller than the first bead. And I'm just going to flatten it out and disperse it towards the cuticle and into the sidewalls. This bead basically defines the highest point of the nail structure, aka the apex, which is really important for long nails like mine. For shorter nails, one bead may be enough. Definitely don't need that much of a big apex, but with longer nails, you definitely want to layer your Polygel to ensure that you're creating a proper apex. Once the cuticle bead is shaped, I swipe off any excess down, and then I take a clean brush dipped in acetone to carefully swipe along the cuticle area and sidewalls, just removing any gel that may be touching my skin. It's very, very important to remove any products from your skin before curing, because we don't want to risk developing a nail allergy. And after curing the cuticle bead again for 90 seconds, I wipe off the sticky inhibition layer with acetone before moving on to the filing. We're going back to the drill, and I'm going to set mine around 20,000 RPM, or you can do it higher if you're more comfortable with that. And we're just going to start filing the surface of the Polygel to smooth it out and remove any bumps. I like to use a back and forth motion to ensure every single inch of my nail is filed evenly. And while doing this, make sure to maintain the overall shape of the nail. And I like to file the free edge of my nail right here, just to kind of refine it a little bit. But once the area is smooth and less bumpy, I switch to the cuticle area and bring my drill down to 7,000 RPM. I file very carefully near the cuticle area until the Polygel lays flush with my natural nail. Be careful not to overfile here. It's really easy to remove too much. The goal is just to kind of maintain the shape while eliminating bulk near the cuticle to get a seamless blend. And I'll just go ahead and repeat this process on all of my nails. First the surface and then the cuticle area. Also, I'm using a 180 grit sanding band for this step, but you could use a lower grit if you need to remove more Polygel. It kind of just depends what you're starting with. And if you're not comfortable using an e-file, you can use a hand file too. It doesn't have to be an e-file. If you're more comfortable working by hand, that's totally fine. After filing, I like to use the smooth side of my buffing block I think it's around 240 grit. It's very smooth, and I'll just gently buff the surface of my nails and remove any fine scratches. I usually buff each nail for around a minute, and it usually leaves my nails pretty smooth. Of course, there's still going to be some scratches left, but we'll be able to get rid of that later. After filing, I wash my hands with soap and water to remove all the dust, and then I come back and cleanse my nails with some rubbing alcohol to remove any oils from the soap and prep my nails for polish. Before starting the nail art, I apply a matte top coat from DTYN. I'm not going to apply it like super precisely. I'm covering most of the nail surface, but just leaving a gap near the cuticle area, like I'm just not going all the way up there. You don't need to cover most of the nail surface unless you want to. It's totally fine if you kind of like leave out the cuticle area, but this is just going to create a smooth surface for the nail art. Cure it for 60 seconds until it's fully set and you're good to go. I'm going to go in with the Valentino Pure White Gel Polish. This is my favorite white gel polish ever. It's so good. And for my pink, I'm using Angel Wings from Madame Glam. The pink in the inspiration picture is a lot lighter than the one I'm using, but I just prefer this shade of pink, so that's what I'm going to use today. We're going to start with the French tips, and we're going to go in with the white gel polish first. So I coat my brush evenly in that polish, and I'm going to use the V method today, which means starting with a line where you want the tip to begin, painting 2 vertical lines, and then connecting those lines together, and then filling in the French tip with the rest of the gel polish. I love this method because it's super precise, it's consistent, and kind of easy to follow. And usually they come out super symmetrical, which I love. And I'm just going to repeat this same process on my ring finger and middle fingers as well. But I'm using the pink gel polish for those French tips. And after applying the polish, I cure my nails for 60 seconds to fully cure the gel polish. For the snowflake design, I start with a center dot and then map out the shape around it, kind of in like a square shape. And using a very thin brush, I draw lines extending from the center outwards to form the snowflake. Thin brushes are key. So I literally took one of my brushes that I barely use and I trimmed off the bristles to make this one like ultra thin, and I have no regrets. It really helps a lot. I also added some small dots around the snowflakes to kind of mimic like little snowflakes in the background. It's so cute. And after you do your snowflakes, make sure you give them a very quick flash cure for 20 seconds before moving on to another nail, just to make sure you don't accidentally smudge your design. So now I'm going to go in with the pinky. I'm doing a plaid nail design. I start with the pink color using a 20mm liner brush, and I'll continue building that plaid pattern from there. For the plaid, it's super important to use a long liner brush like this 20. Longer liner brushes help create straight, even lines, even if your hands are a little bit shaky like mine. They just help so much keeping your line work straight. So I painted the pink and overlapped it with the white on opposite sides, of course curing in between each color. And next I paint the snowflakes again in between the lines, kind of placing the dots where the nude base color is. I'm not going directly on the plaid, just so that it's kind of easier to see the snowflake. And after I've done that snowflake, I just add a few small dots again, just kind of anywhere. It just adds a lot of little mini detail and it looks really, really cute. For the candy cane inspired nail, I started by painting white lines across the French tip. It's important to do a solid white base rather than just going directly in with the white glitter. I promise the lines will show up so much better and more vividly, so make sure that you paint the white first. And I made sure to space them out enough so that additional lines can be placed in between. And if anything is overlapping over the French, just make sure to clean it up before curing. Now before I go in with the sugar detail, I applied a glossy top coat to all of my nails and cured them for 60 seconds. This step is really crucial because we won't be able to top coat the ring finger after using the sugar technique without ruining it, so just make sure to add a layer of top coat beforehand. Now to go in with the sugar glitter, I'm using this standard top gel. I typically use the thick version in my tutorials, but this time I got to try the standard version for the first time, which is slightly thinner. Perfect for this line work. I brushed the gel along the white lines and then sprinkled craft glitter. I believe it's called Snow from Michaels onto my nails. I flash cured it immediately and then fully cured it for 60 seconds before dusting off the excess. And as you can see, the white lines came out really nice and they stand out beautifully. And this is why applying white gel polish first onto the base works so well. Then I did the same thing with the pink, but just in between the white ones. I sprinkled a bit of pink dusting powder over them. I believe these are both iridescent as well, so it gives the nails more of a subtle sparkle. And I flash cured it, fully cured it, and then dusted off the excess, and it looked perfect. For the final touch, I applied a single white bow charm. This time I used the Crazy Thick Top Gel for this step. It's literally ideal for securing larger charms. So I placed a small amount of gel on the nail, positioned the bow on top, and added a little bit of that thick top coat over the knot area to help it adhere better. And I also filled in the sides slightly and wiped off any excess just to make sure it doesn't look streaky or anything. And then I flash cured it in place and then fully cured it. Also, this gel is no wipe, meaning that there's no sticky inhibition layer or anything like that. So don't worry about applying any top coat over it. And yeah, the charm is now completely secure. To finish, I applied some cuticle oil to rehydrate the surrounding skin. Especially after using the acetone and the rubbing alcohol, our skin kind of needs the replenish of moisture. These are the finished nails. I absolutely love them. They're super Christmassy, feminine, and adorable. I'm obsessed with pink, so I would definitely do this design again or something very similar. If you enjoyed this tutorial and found it helpful, please comment and share. It means so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!